Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the Road to the ProcureTech Cup. I'm here, your host, Joël Panin-Demers, consulting principal at Pure Procurement and also head editor at the Pure Procurement newsletter. I'm joined once again by my co-host, Gabe Perez. So, Gabe, happy to have you. He's the Chief Strategy Officer. I'm going to get that right one week, Gabe. I'm sure. The Chief Strategy Officer at RiseNow, your partner to design, build, operate next-gen procurement and supply chain functions. So thanks for being here again, Gabe. How was your week?
All good. And don't worry, I can never say your name as gracefully as you say it. So we'll have to learn over time. And just excited to get to another presentation and continue to cut through the noise of all the ProcureTech out there and help the audience learn more about how it can be of value to them. So thanks for having me again.
Very cool. So we'll not lose any time. This week, we've got Sievo on the show, and we are joined by two people, which I'll bring to the stage right now. We have Heta Pirtujärvi, who's based out of Helsinki and the VP product at Sievo. So really happy to have you on. And we have Sam Peters, head of pre-sales based out of North Carolina today. So thanks for being here, guys.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
As we do every week, right, the journey continues. I mentioned we have Sievo, procurement analytics provider, here on the show this week. We're at week, I believe, 8, episode 9, since we had the launch at the very beginning. And you see the solutions that have come before and the solutions that are coming in the next weeks. So we still have about 6 weeks after this episode before we get to the holiday break. We have a couple things, special things planned for you during the break as well, right? So you won't go hungry during that time, right? We'll have some analysis, and then we'll keep going in March until we get, or in 2025 up until March, till we get to the ProcureTech Cup tournament, which is version 2, right? We ran the first version last year. The agenda for today. So the team at Sievo is going to give us a company overview, what their unique value proposition is, knowing that there's a lot of spend analytics tools and procurement analytics tools on the market out there, their ideal customer profile, and then we'll go into a solution demo that Sam will lead for us. Then we'll follow that with some let's get real questions from Gabe, just to cut through the noise, as he said, and make sure that the questions that you may have in the back of your mind about these types of solutions get answered. And finally, we'll map Sievo to the ProcureTech market map that we look at every week together. So that's in essence, what we're looking to do together. And I'll let you, Heta, take it away if you want to start presenting.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Heta. Great to be here. And I'm introducing Sievo, the global leader in procurement analytics. And there's a lot of ProcureTech companies out there, but Sievo has been in this space way before it was cool. And I'll tell you why. So Sievo was founded about 20 years ago because the current tools just cannot keep up. There's a lot of siloed, messy data across the globe, and tens or even hundreds of ERPs. It's difficult to spot the opportunities. There's no single source of truth. Stakeholders don't have trust in the data. It's messy. In the end, the targets are not reached. And this is where Sievo comes in. So what we deliver is more savings with AI-powered insights and automated actions you can trust. Now, I'm not talking about dashboards here. I mean, we have those, but that's not where the real value is. Now, what we've done for 20 years is what you see on the left-hand side. So we've been taking full responsibility for your data. Now, what we do, we first extract and cleanse your data from any system you use, whether it's Coupa or Oracle or something in between. We integrate and connect that with any external data you need, EcoVadis, Dun & Bradstreet, risk methods. And then we enrich and harmonize that with Sievo community data. Now, we have over 2% of the global GDP flowing through our systems, which means that we have, for instance, 100 million plus ERP suppliers in our system, where we can kind of give you the benchmarks for that. For instance, what payment terms should you have with this supplier, etc. Now, when we have all this data, that's where we can give you SLA guaranteed accuracy, including the traditional spend analytics, spend classifications, supplier normalization, material deduplications, which we do better than any other vendor in the world. But okay, we've taken full responsibility for your data. That's one part. that's where it gets to the interesting part. So really automated analytics and insights. We give you AI to, help you in all your manual work, but most importantly, we let your time be freed from that manual data crunching and give you insights on what you should be focusing on, what suppliers, which categories, which pieces of your data you and your team should be focusing on to actually get value. So you can then focus on results, getting up to 11% annual savings with, for instance, taking action directly from the tool with price savings, reducing CO2 emissions, streamlining your budgeting, and anything in between. So really,
just to make sure the audience understands, on the community data, are you saying that your customers, this is anonymized data that your customers have allowed usage of to help basically their peers? I just want to, that's a pretty important area. So your customers are allowing you to share their data anonymously?
Exactly. And I think that is one of our really key differentiators that we believe will really transform procurement analytics as we know it. So indeed, fully anonymized data that our customers have agreed to share. Yeah.
Because 2% global GDP sounds like nothing, but to me that's huge.
It is, and I don't know if it even sounds like nothing. I mean, it's a lot of, yeah, exactly, a lot of data flowing through our system. Yes, but basically, what this all boils down to is Sievo. So our customers love us. I mean, they are getting all of this value, and when the big companies in the world, the 2% of the global GDP, partner with us, they tend to stay with us for over 10 years. So the Coca-Cola FEMSAs, the Levi's, the Marses of the world, large enterprises, so over 1 billion plus in spend or revenue, those are especially the companies that we can help with, just because there's a lot of complexity that we can simplify. We are industry agnostic. So as you can see also from the different logos there, any industry, any region, we have skills in all of that.
And does your community data, are you able to break it up by vertical? So I'm assuming if you have so many verticals, if I'm in manufacturing, are you able to give benchmarks across specific verticals with your data?
Yeah, exactly. We do it on a very kind of granular level, so we can break it up in different categories, verticals, different ways. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. We have been the market leader for 20 years. I think that's clear. We've just got the top tech score from Spend Matters, for instance. Got it also last year. So we do have the largest R&D team for procurement analytics that we know of. So we really are developing our product, for instance, having full focus also on the community data part, as that is such a crucial element as well for the need to be able to actually get to the savings. So quicker and better decisions and actions. Now, I think Sam will also show that soon, that all of this has to come from the fact that we have all the data in order, but that's just not enough for today's procurement analytics. So it all boils down to the actual actionable insights that we can then show you.
Very cool. And I think that's probably a good segue into the demo, right?
I think so. Handing over to Sam.
All right. I was going to ask him to play that baby grand piano in the back, but we'll ask him to play Sievo instead.
I appreciate that. Maybe if we have a couple extra minutes. Thank you for that introduction, Head. I really appreciate that. For my quick demo today, what I want you to focus on is friction. So how much does it take me to go from point A to point B within my role as, for example, a category manager? And to illustrate what using Sievo looks like as a category manager, I want to show that in the demo today. So I want you to count, 1, how many clicks does it take me to find what I need? And 2, how easy is it for me to start from point A, which is, I need to realize, let's say 5% savings over the next quarter for my category, and then find out exactly what I need to chase after. So let's start with having logged in, right? I log in, I'm a category manager. I see my homepage here. On the left-hand side, I have all my different dashboards available to me. And in the center, I have a number of different items that can be relevant for me, whether they're company announcements, whether they're savings activities that I'm chasing after. But what I want you to focus on is the recommended insights, because I think generally speaking, what you'll find is that if you look at a spend analysis platform, what you need to do is less than what you need to do on your own, right? You don't need to go through Excels. You don't need to get a report out and then dig through line by line to find out what I need to do for my next quarter. You still need to go through the dashboards though. I still need to go into my price related dashboard and see which sort of vendors have high price increases. I need to see which materials I should be chasing after. The next step beyond that is to have those opportunities presented to me as a user. Instead of having to select through a dashboard, I should be able to see a list of relevant itemized insights for me presented kind of Netflix style. What's what we can see here? What you saw on the homepage is I had a list of recommended insights for me. I clicked on the top one that seemed relevant for me, and I saw we're purchasing sugar from a number of different suppliers. Do we think that we can consolidate that spend to the lowest cost alternative? Sievo spits out all the relevant insight for me. It gives me a summary of what's happened. In this case, we have a low cost opportunity from another supplier with sugar purchases. I can look at that context and see here's who we're purchasing from. Here's their price month over month for the relevant period. And here's the granular level breakdown, if I'm curious about that, of which plants we're purchasing from, what we're purchasing, and that actual price opportunity here. And this is one click, right? So from the homepage, I click once, I land here, and I have an opportunity for me.
So this type of commodity indices, is this across both indirect and direct goods that you offer this?
Yeah, as long as there's a SKU, we'll have this opportunity for you, so indirect or direct. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that this is basically looking at supplier consolidations. This isn't a benchmark. I can show a benchmark as a separate feature for sure.
And just to make sure we don't glance over that, right? When you say a SKU, you mean like I need a material master in my back-end ERP system that I've purchased with on a PO to be able to enable this, right?
For this particular insight, absolutely. But as I'll get into in the future, there's a lot of other things at your fingertips. So as I said, one click lands me here. I take a look here. I can scroll down, see if it looks relevant for me. Click number 2, I can give this to myself. Say, I want to take action on this. Click number 3, I put this into, let's say, active because I'm going to chase after it. And alternatively, if you have access to Sievo's project management tool, you could create an actual savings opportunity here and chase after it, go through the process of having it approved by finance, implementing it, etc. But let's start from here. So 3 clicks, I found my opportunity. I've assigned it to myself. I've set it to active. And now I can take it forward. Maybe I can reach out to the plant manager and see if this is something relevant to pursue. Maybe I can open up communications with the supplier. But zooming out, let's say I'm not buying a commodity good. Let's say I'm not doing something as straightforward as chasing a price opportunity. What Sievo has done is actually gathered up a list of all these common hotspots, insight types that someone might be interested in as a procurement user, as a category manager, and have placed them into one place in an itemized fashion, presented to you as a user so that you can find what you need to accomplish. So there's a question about the direct versus indirect. Let's say I'm not interested in direct. Let's say I'm actually even on like the AP team and I'm interested in increasing our cash flow. I can pull up something like a payment terms consolidation opportunity, look through here and see at a category level, at a supplier level, or at an organizational level where my opportunities exist at the aggregate for payment terms. And as you can see, again, I could drill in and get an understanding of exactly what is meant by a payment term opportunity. In this case, it's consolidating to the best terms across the supplier. Or I could zoom out and start to use something like a community benchmark, which Heta mentioned, which you can see if I were to jump over to here, look at something like a payment term recommendation. And instead of getting internal data points, now I'm getting benchmarked against my community and saying, on average, when someone in my industry purchases from WestRock, they are getting 90 days. But I'm getting less than that for a lot of my spend. I'm getting 45 days, or I'm getting less than that. So you can utilize Sievo, again, with just a couple of clicks to find opportunities from a price perspective, from a payment term perspective, from a risk perspective, looking at things like high price increases, looking at unexpected new suppliers, looking at uncovered non-PO spend, et cetera. And the list continues to grow day by day. So there could be things like decarbonization opportunities. There could be things like compliance with preferred suppliers, as an example. We can not just give you what you're seeing right now, but we can build it out from there to include whatever you need to see. Now, the last 2 things I want to say in terms of how I, as a category manager, would use this tool. I log in, I find something interesting to me. Let's say I don't believe that WestRock can be taken action on, right? I think that while on average, we're getting 90 days, this is one of my sole suppliers for a certain material. They're very strategic. I can't do anything about that. What I can do is discard a particular opportunity, and the system learns from that. It means in the future, when we get new data, I not going to have to ignore or remove over and over again these different insights that are presented to me. The system learns, the feed adjusts, and in the end, I should only see insights that are relevant to me based on the selections that I've made. The last thing that I'll mention here, if we talk about, let's say, for example, going back to something like a payment term consolidation opportunity, is that we have additional options for things that you can do. So as I said, we have creating initiatives that can be done. So creating a savings project, following that through. We also offer the ability to go directly to the supplier from Sievo with a pre-generated email that will allow you to reach out and start the negotiation directly from Sievo, again, reducing that friction, or in the future, utilizing something like Pactum to launch the negotiation automatically. And the goal here should be clear. We want to remove as much of the friction as possible between having data, having spend, and taking action on improving your sourcing strategy and meeting the goals that you need as an organization.
You touched something pretty important pretty quickly, and I want to pause for a second.
Of course.
You talked about, I think I heard Pactum launching negotiation in a third-party tool. So one of the challenges I've seen with spend analytics tools is how do you actually take action on the data, because the action's in another system. So can you talk a little bit more about the way you take actions in Sievo and the ecosystem of potential partners you have that plug into those actions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say Pactum, that's a burgeoning relationship, and I think we'll have more details as to exactly what using it looks like as we go forward. I think it's basically right around the corner. But in terms of taking actions, I would split it into, let's say, 3 buckets. Bucket number 1 is going to be taking it to like an organizational level. So creating the initiative that I talked about earlier, basically saying, I think I can realize 75% of this if I take action on this today. And so I can set a savings potential as something like 3.5, something like this, put it under whatever category I want, and then create a project from here. And that'll allow us to actually go through the channels of, reach out to finance as soon as possible, scoping it out, going through all the steps and processes.
That creates sort of a pipeline and savings management capability in your project management tool.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And, it's a little outside of the scope of what we generally show, but just so you're aware what that sort of thing looks like. If you wanted to see what does my pipeline look like, what sort of savings have been identified in Sievo and actually taken to that next step, you could see something like our initiative management tool, and you'll see this at an aggregate level across the different types of items that a project would be in. So whatever your organization uses, and then down to each individual initiative and the items that can be done from there. So the nice thing about Sievo is you have your spend analysis as the core, right? So we identify insights and then the data. But then beyond that, as you said, there's so much more that you can do with the data, whether that be tracking the savings, whether that be doing something like benchmarking against the market, whether that be something like managing your delivery performance, et cetera. The kind of sky's the limit.
And thanks for showing that to Gabe, and only Gabe. I appreciate that. The other piece I was going to ask is, because as you're going through those tabs, like those seem like additional modules or additional options, right? Based on what you're trying to do, whether from a CO2 emissions perspective, whether from OTIF, et cetera. So those are additional options to add to the tool or to the licenses.
Exactly. And I think that's where Sievo really shines, is at what we call the procurement hub. So everything that you want to do related to your sourcing should be in one place and should be in Sievo. All right.
And I think we may have cut you off because you said three different ways to look at it, and then you mentioned like the internal opportunities generation, but then we kind of went off track. So I want to make sure you're getting to those other points.
Oh, no problem. I've actually shown them for the most part. So the point number 2 is going to be being able to contact the supplier directly, right? So what we can do, since we have your vendor information, we can store contact information, and then from there you can kind of take it. And then the last thing that I would do is kind of I want to make it clear that we have the traditional opportunities here. And by that, I mean, if you have something that looks interesting to you, you can save it within Sievo, export it as like a file or something like that, and then do the traditional methods of conferring with your team, going through the data together, and then reaching out to the supplier as part of the negotiations. Now, the nice thing here that I'll say is that this is mobile friendly. So one thing that I've heard people doing is they'll actually pull up something like this with their supplier when they're talking to them and say, well, look, I see right here, you're costing us a lot more than you should. How can we meet in the middle here? So So those would be the three ways that you can take action with Sievo.
You can have a let's get real session with your supplier right there and then.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. That's the idea.
And Sam, unless you had did you have anything else you wanted to show us? Or?
No, I think I'm already at time here, so I'll go ahead and close up. But thanks everyone for listening.
Okay, and so I mean, what Gabe's intervention was great because it's actually time for the Let's Get Real segment. So let's kick it off.
So appreciate the insights, both Hen and Sam, and definitely I think you're not a standard ProcureTech vendor because you've been around for a long time. You have enterprise customers, you have use cases and studies, and the ProcureTech wave is probably just bringing more attention to something you were already very good at. But spend analysis, you showed all the options, you showed all the dashboards, you showed all the actions. But when you're a spend analysis provider, you're always dependent on other people's data. And no matter what conference you go to, no matter what conversation you have, data is still really bad out there. And a lot of people, there's conversations that spend analysis is commoditized. You can get it through a spend cube, through a consultancy. You can get it from a source to pay provider as part of the platform. You can get it standalone. Some people are heavy offshore. Some people are heavier on the AI side. So help me understand how you've been so successful and what really differentiates you in this space. Because again, spend analysis demos are always pretty, right? But when you got to go underneath the hood to understand how did you actually get it to look like that? And if I'm going to purchase it, is it going to work like that in my scenario, my data, and my ugly ecosystem of a million different systems that sit on top of? So how are you being successful and how are you differentiating in this market that's been around for so long?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'll just give a quick answer, and then if you want to jump in, feel free. I'm going to tackle this in a couple ways. The first and foremost way is the bad data, right? And I think what happens, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10 times, is the data that you have access to as a procurement manager is bad. That doesn't mean the data in the system is bad. And what Sievo has is an expertise of 20 years to say, we know exactly what tables, we know exactly what fields within your ERP systems to extract. We extract them, we consolidate them, and we do our work. It's the difference between someone saying, give us whatever, we'll make it work for you, versus we know exactly what we need to make this work for you, and we know how to get it. That's part of Sievo taking ownership of that data extraction piece. Now, the second thing, and this is a silly one, but I think it's very real, is if you're in procurement and you're looking for a tool, what you want is something that's not going to give you a bunch of meetings every week. So talking to like a procurement team, that's meetings on Fridays, that's meetings every morning talking about, a consulting team. You need to talk to them about what you're doing, what's happening. You need to have a bunch of updates. With Sievo, we take ownership of the data, we take ownership of the classification. We'll check it with you once at the start, and then you should never hear from us again. You should be able to use the tool every day without having to reach out to some offshore team, without having to send an email to anyone to get your data fixed. The idea is that it's all in one place without having to touch, and that's why people stay with us for so long, because frankly, they don't have to have 100 meetings a week with us.
And Sam, I'll add some weight to what you're saying at that first point around asking the data, right? Because I had the pleasure of working with you actually personally on a mandate a couple of years ago, and with an SAP backend system, and you guys were just like, hey, these are the tables that we need, these are the fields that we need, and that made the process a lot less painless in terms of being able to get the initial data loads into the spend queue.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think maybe just to add to that, I think one element is that we're sometimes hearing that AI takes over everything. I don't believe that AI will fully take over, for instance, classification. Sometimes the category manager knows best that this particular material actually does not go where the AI has suggested that it goes. So what we do also enable is giving full access to the tools, so transparency and giving the tools so that the users also can kind of fix the data themselves, because it won't be perfect from the start. So I think also having that kind of human and AI and Sievo collaboration is the key.
Very cool. And so as we finalize the episode here, I want to bring up the ProcureTech Cut Market Map just to give you an opportunity. And I think we've covered it verbally, right? It's been pretty clear since the beginning of the episode, but where Sievo positions itself on the procurement value chain, so to speak, and the different categories of solutions that we see out there. So I know we focused a lot on spend analysis, but given the other categories or capabilities of the tool, you're allowed, you could support performance management, supplier risk management, data management. We didn't circle it, but even with the opportunity and the project management piece, I would kind of drift into category management as well up top here. So Hedda, is there anything you want to add in terms of how you see Sievo fitting into the ProcureTech space and where you guys are going, the types of partnerships that are exciting you, that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. I think the key thing here is that we are a spend analysis company or procurement analysis company kind of from the start. But I think what that kind of requires in today's world is that you connect to everything, all the data that there is coming, all the data that there's going out. So here we've circled, for instance, supplier risk management, for performance management on the supplier relationship management side. But honestly, what we think, what also Sam said, Sievo is a procurement action hub. So connecting all of that data into one place is what really enables you to get all of that context, seeing that, okay, this supplier has these emissions, this risk, this spend, this relationship, etc. That's what really makes you be able to actually take the correct action. So I think that's what really is the key thing there. Whether it's then also bringing in the contracts and benchmarking on those, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's really where the key element is.
That's your North Star when thinking about the roadmap and development of the solution into the future.
Exactly. Procurement action hub. Yes.
And we didn't really talk to very much like the partners that you have, but I know for a fact you have a couple partnerships to be able to pull in, data to support CO2, sustainability, et cetera. Is that something you want to speak to, or?
Yeah, I think, our data partnerships and partnerships in general are really core at Sievo, just because that enables us to get all the data in one place. So I think we have around 50 partners. So there's a lot. For instance, on the sustainability side, I think EcoVadis is quite a common one. Our CO2 analytics brings in basically any carbon emissions data from the world into one place. And I think the CO2 module has been our most successful product launch ever. It is a very important topic at today's day and age. So I see a lot of growth there in the future as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's really great, my friends. I'm really glad you got to come on the show the demo, and we got some good back and forth in terms of getting into the nitty gritty of how to make this work, but also the possibilities that it unlocks. Once you have everything in the spend cube and using a tool like Sievo. So I just want to ask you before we end the show here, how can people get in touch if they want to go deeper into their use cases, other modules that you didn't have time to show today? What's the best place to reach Sievo?
Sievo.com, I think, is the best place. Or then also on LinkedIn, and we'd be happy to help.
Okay, awesome. And I'm sure Sam and Hedda, you're both on LinkedIn, so people could get in touch with you personally if they don't want to navigate the corporate websites, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And so on that note, thank you so much to everybody watching for being here again this week. Gabe and myself, are both active in the consulting space for these ProcureTech solutions. So if you need some support from RiseNow or from Procurement, give us a call to help you navigate this market. And as always, we're keeping track of the road to the ProcureTech Cup in the Procurement newsletter. So newsletter.pureprocurement.ca if you want to follow the action there, and all the replays, all the content, and also other trends and frameworks that can help you navigate the procurement technology space. So everybody, Sam, Hedda, Gabe, thanks for being here today. And thanks for everybody for watching. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.